Alright, so the government purporting ownership of our offspring. Anyone who's had a little bit of a glimmer into the world of child protective services, such agencies, for example, the ones out of Arizona that were all fired for posing on social media wearing t-shirts that said professional kidnappers on them. That's real cute. So we probably all know someone who's gone through a horror story of a custody battle. By the way, the word custody means essentially control of something that belongs to someone else. So what I recently found in black and white in a case, the concept spelled out is it's Parte E.R.G. Those are all initials, so it's E.R.G. This is 2011 out of Alabama, and it says, the theory upon which the court proceeds in such cases is that your parental rights over your minor children are a trust committed to you by the state, which should more accurately be stated as the government, because the state is actually the assemblage of the people. But they claim it is a trust committed to you by the state, and that the state, or the government, retains supreme guardianship and parens patria, which is a Latin term for parent of the people that the king used to use as a claim of control over all infants within his realm. And that when the parent abuses this trust in such a way as to retard or impair the child growing up to be a good citizen, that's a key point there too, then the government will assert its supreme guardianship over their wards. And that was not 100% word for word, but that was very, very close. And all the key words are there. So for government actors to assert that our kids are their wards, you know, that these are fighting words. These are words that have sparked bloody revolutions in the past, and rightfully so. You know, our strategy here is using pen and paper, because as we know, violent overthrows of the existing governmental regimes often only result in, as the saying goes, the hand that crushes the tyrant's head becomes the tyrant in his stead. Only results in the next largest group of jackbooted thugs taking over. However, a ward of the state or of the government is a term that is used to refer to people who are incarcerated in their for-profit prison system or in a mental asylum, etc. So for them to assert that our kids are their wards from the very beginning is just unconscionable. You know, I liken it to Jeffrey Epstein. It's child trafficking. They're claiming ownership of our kids, and you can look up that site right there, Parte E.R.G. 2011 out of Alabama. The good news is that site goes on to cite multiple other United States Supreme Court cases, like Troxel versus Granville, Pierce versus Society of Sisters, Prince versus Massachusetts, Stanley versus Illinois, Wisconsin versus Yoder, etc., that all say, absolutely not. Your parental rights are the oldest liberty interest, and that they are independent of any statute, case law, or constitutional provision. So, this is what we're up against. And as you will learn, as you may already know, but if not, as we'll get into in the future, as soon as you allow them to take jurisdiction over you, they're acting as a chancellor. They can make up the rules as they go. In my case, the guardian de son tort they call her a GAL, unlawful guardian, ignored every point in the statutes and awarded my ex-wife 85% time with my kids, and just made up some horrendous, fantastical, completely baseless theory that I wasn't spending time with my kids, for quality bonding time. I won't go too much into that, but there are many cases and examples of this, and many who've had it far, far worse than I. They take away their kids completely. Some CPS worker molests them and doesn't even get fired for it, much less any hint of any real accountability, even a civil, equitable remedy, much less the criminal charges that they would ever so desperately deserve for molesting a child whilst holding a position of authority of someone who is supposed to protect children. And as we who follow these sorts of matters know, this is how they do things. There was that UN judge recently who was the world's foremost expert on slavery, the UN judge, and she was found and charged with having a slave. What was the other one? The head of the World Wildlife Conservation Society, or I forget the name of the actual organization, but was caught running a $1 million poaching operation. Again, this is the inversion. As one of my favorite documentary producers, Michael Tessarian, said, religion destroys spirituality, universities destroy education, attorneys destroy justice, etc., etc. But this is one of the foundational points. And again, if anyone tries to argue with you that the government claims they own our kids, that's the cite. It's Parte, E.R.G.